Now, a key contributor and the commissioner of the West Coast Conference, somebody who has been working very, very hard and long hours to bring all of this together, Lynn Holzmann on BYU Sports Nation. Lynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
What kind of preparation, if you can explain in, I guess, just without having to go into great detail, goes into preparing for something as huge as this West Coast Conference tournament?
There's a lot of preparation that goes in, and I don't think we have enough time, of course, to get into all those details. You know, I'm very fortunate. I have a tremendous team at the conference office. We have individuals that have been working on this. Even before last year's event was done, they're already working on this year's event. And it is pretty much a year-round process that culminates here at the West Coast Conference Men's and Women's Basketball Championship. It's really a celebration of the West Coast Conference. A lot of energy and effort goes into it by the staff, but also the leaders that we have on our campus as our athletic directors and others, and you know, trying to make all those little pieces of the puzzle work. So it's a tremendous effort, and we have some really great people that are committed to making this a great event and a great experience for our student athletes behind the scenes.
And we're very excited to be a part of that with ESPN and the conference, to be here for the 5th straight year, which is amazing. Describe a little bit of what you've learned in your first year as commissioner of the West Coast Conference.
Wow, there's a lot of things there. I think one of the things that I would point out that I've learned is, and also I would say it's kind of a reinforcement for me, is how important and significant the role is that I play, but in the context of really being a servant leader for our membership. The role that I play, we have to work 10 institutions with you know, our head coaches from our various sports, our athletic directors, our presidents, and everything. At the end of the day, we all have the same goal, is to make sure that we are putting the West Coast Conference and our programs in the best position possible to be competitive nationally, without question, and that's our goal as a conference. So the servant leader aspect of that is how I serve them, how our staff serves them, so they can accomplish what we've agreed on that we want to do as a conference, as a group of institutions, but also, frankly, the role of being the leader in the sense of understanding what's happening nationally, how all the pieces fit together, how we can put our schools in a position to be successful, and in a lot of the cases that it's making the tough decisions. So that I've learned that. I knew it. That was part of the position, certainly, and it's been reinforced in the first 7.5 months here.
The travel in the West Coast Conference isn't bad. Malibu, San Diego, the beautiful Northwest, the Rocky Mountains, and Utah as well. That's fun and all, but what has been the biggest challenge you have faced as you've stepped into your new role as commissioner?
You're right. These are some pretty beautiful places. I grew up in the Midwest, and I can tell you, when I'm driving that route between Malibu and LA, going from Pepperdine to LMU, you know I'm calling people on the phone saying, you will not believe what's on the right side of my car right now. It's certainly not Indianapolis, Indiana, or Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up. But one of the biggest challenges, I think, this year are, you know, I'll reach back to some of the national issues we're facing, because really the impact that it has on our programs for the long run here. So the Autonomy 5 conferences, and the fact that there's some decisions that have been made nationally. One of the most popular ones that we all talk about is cost of attendance.
Yeah.
And for our programs and where we are financially throughout the conference, and already what's happening throughout higher education, is we want to continue to put our programs in a position to be successful, and all of a sudden there's these additional decisions that are put in front of our athletic directors, presidents, about what we do to support our programs, and in men's basketball, and then in other women's sports and everything. That's a challenge, and it's a challenge as we work through all of those issues, because we have what's immediately in front of us, but we're trying to continue to grow and build something here for the long term. And the success of our men's basketball programs is a cornerstone of that. That's just the reality of it. We all recognize and understand that, but we need to do this in a way that is not detrimental and actually supports the growth and development of all of our sports. Volleyball, the great run that BYU women's volleyball had this year to the final championship. It was phenomenal. It was great to be part of that. And we have other programs in our other sports. We are a multi-bid league for NCAA championships in most all of our sports, and we need to continue to sustain that. But as these national issues, that's adding more pressure to the decisions that everyone has to make, that's a huge challenge for our league.
Lynn, in your monthly conversations with the NCAA Basketball Selection Committee, what's the discussion like related to trying to get, I guess, multiple bids in? BYU looks like possibly the second bid.
We, with those calls that we have with the Basketball Selection Committee, there's 2 committee members assigned to each conference, so it's great we have that opportunity to have that dialogue. And through that, the conversations throughout the season, it has been for the teams that we know that are tournament worthy, that they need the opportunity, and because the competitive level they're playing, their RPI, understanding where that program is in its development, the great stories associated with the programs, some of the student athletes, both the on-court success and off, the exciting nature of the games that we play and everything, those are all certainly parts of the conversation. So it evolves from the data, the metrics, and all of that to actually, I would say, more of the subjective assessment of when you're looking at a really great program and whether they're going to how they're going to compete at that level, and if they can compete. So whether this year, those conversations, of course, Gonzaga's of the world, the BYU's, the St. Mary's, the upper half of our league, that's what we've been promoting the whole time.
Lynn Holzmann, West Coast Conference Commissioner on BYU Sports Nation, live from the Orleans Arena at the West Coast Conference Tournament. If you were to make a pitch for BYU to any one of those NCAA Selection Committee members, what would your pitch about BYU men's basketball be to them?
Well, I think one of the things I'd point out right now is certainly the way they finished the season. I mean, they finished the season so strong, and look at the last game that they just had. So
yeah, I'm feeling it.
I know. That's a great look on you. I love it.
I'm glad you think that.
But I think that's one of the main points right there is, they have finished so strong, and the result of that and how their RPI has changed and where they are with the personnel on the team, and hopefully everyone stays healthy, all of that. But those are all the factors. But certainly, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is how they have finished the season here.
So these subjective factors that you mentioned, those matter to the committee?
Well, I think they do, because at the end of the day—
Do they ask about them, or do you just sell them?
Well, kind of both. I mean, but we're at the end of the day, these are humans sitting in a room that are looking at a lot of data in front of them, and I have a hard time believing that that in some way any conversations or any tidbits of information that you can provide to people, it's not going to stick in their brains somewhere.
Sure, you got to put emotion. You got to put emotion behind it.
It's not the BCS.
We are gonna look for every possible angle that we can get, any way to help our programs get into that NCAA championship. And if it is sharing those little tidbits of information, whatever the case may be, about triple doubles and all these other things, we're going to make sure that they're aware of that. We're going to make sure they know how they can see our programs play through our great broadcast partners, ESPN, BYUtv, our regional sport networks, and our digital network, the W.TV. And that's also, all those things have tremendously helped us for the exposure of our programs, and those committee members can see our programs play and back up what we're saying.
Clearly you take a wide angle lens because you have to. I mean, that just falls in the description of what your job is. But when you look at BYU and Gonzaga, from a conference perspective, is it better to have a dominant force like Gonzaga be a #1 seed, or to have a team like BYU come in and end the nation's longest home win streak and now put yourself in a position where you're looking at probability of the two bids happening going way up?
Yeah, it's in some ways it's a catch-22, because on the one hand you're looking at seed, and then the potential of going deeper into the championship, of course, and on the other hand, the multi-bid league. I mean, of course, in my ideal situation, we're getting both. We're getting the highest seed possible. Ideally, would be a #1 seed, and everything you read right now, that would be in question. But on the other hand, the multi-bid league, having multiple teams into the championship is absolutely huge, and that's historically where we've been and where we want to continue to be. It's a catch-22, and I can make arguments on either side, as I know both of you guys can too.
Lynn, great to have you with us.
We want BYU in is the answer for us. Yeah, exactly.
Please just get in, whether it's a play-in game or what. Just make the NCAA tournament, because that's the big dance. And what's cool about a tournament situation like this is everybody has a shot. It's unique to college basketball. Everybody has a chance.
Isn't that one of the best things about this game? It's phenomenal, and we saw that. We saw last year with Mercer, and there's these other great Cinderella stories in which someone that you would never expect comes out of one of these conference championships, and then if on top of that they happen to also win a game in the NCAA championships. I mean, what that does for the school, the community, the conference, it's phenomenal, and it's a great thing about college sports.
We appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day to join us on BYU Sports Nation. We look forward to a great week at the West Coast Conference Tournament.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.